This YouTube channel is all about the Motley Muse art. I create art and I teach you how to create your own. Please subscribe. When painting a wall, I always like to pick a theme that will go well with the aesthetics that are around the wall and the environment that the wall is in. That is why for this one I went with an ocean scene. Now at the beginning, before I paint, I like to go with some Sharpies and roughly sketch out a basic layout design. I don't get too crazy with my design, just a little bit here and there so I know what is going to be where. And then I have time to think about it, if it's going to look good, if it's going to flow right, if the customer I'm painting for the wall, if they like where I've placed what, and then I go ahead and start painting. I always like to start with the background first. So in this case, I'm using the blue. Now I'm doing a rough back and forth motion, not really paying attention to strokes. I'm using a 2-inch brush and I'm just going ahead and kind of getting in close to my designs of where I laid out everything. I'm being very careful not to waste paint or time on the places that don't need to be blue. I studied this quite thoroughly before I decided to paint it. Now, I've been scuba diving many times, different places of the world, and especially the day before I painted this, I took some time on Google and just refreshed my memory and looked at a lot of photos of animals and coral. And I started remembering that when I was scuba diving, it was very hard sometimes in moments to tell depth. The reason why is because sometimes animals such as the turtle are just kind of floating around, and I saw a turtle and it was kind of close to the surface and it would go down, but there were times in which I was looking at it sideways and I was seeing that there was really nothing to show me depth to relate from where the turtle is to where it would be. For example, like if we were in a room and there was a chair and then there's a table and they're next to each other, you can kind of get a size proportion idea going on with to help you feel 3D and where in the space that this is. But in the ocean, especially when you're looking out into the blue vastness, it's hard to tell that distance. So I was able to play with it a little bit of the distance and it was fun. So for example, look at the scuba diver and look at the dolphin. Well, the dolphin is like super huge compared to the scuba diver in the painting, but really that's helping us to see the depth a little bit because now if we were to put them side by side, the dolphin and the dolphin really wouldn't be that big. So this helps us with that. But then if you notice the turtle, like he's just all off by himself. When I went scuba diving, I noticed that turtles kind of are solitary. They don't like to be around things and people and other animals. And when I saw the turtles, they were all kind of off on their own, doing their own thing, chasing food, coming up for air. They seemed to have stayed closer to the surface when I saw them. So that's why the turtle's up there. So the reason I'm telling you all this is I just want you to think about in your design and take a moment and not just paint. I've seen so many of my students where they just start painting. Really, take that couple of minutes before and think about where you're going to lay it out. And even if it doesn't work, it's fine. You can move stuff around. If you're going to move something, I recommend letting the paint fully dry completely. And then after it's dried, then go ahead and lay down a layer of white where you want it to be. And then go ahead and let that dry. And once that's dry, then paint over. Now what this is going to do by adding the layer of white first, it's really going to make those colors bright and they're really going to pop. And in a way, you actually save money a little bit and time because you're not going to have to layer so many layers to get that bright poppy color effect that you want. And also, one of the things that the camera's not really picking up here, but I can see, is that when I laid on the blue, which I used a 2-inch painter's brush, a large one, and I just went ahead and painted, but I didn't really, it didn't matter which direction or way I moved the brush. I just got the paint on there. Now, because this is cinder block and it's very rough, I really tried to get into the grooves and stuff, but there's still kind of some pores and some little holes in the wall. And when I was just very fast and quick with the brush, it started getting this translucent look, so that some of the water appeared, the blue appeared as though it was really thick and dark, and then other parts it's really light, and there's a little bit of that brown showing through because I put on a light coating. And I really only just gave it one coat. And when you step back, you can really see that depth of water. It makes it really 3D looking. Kind of like the same idea when you go outside and you look up in the sky. It's very like blotchy with dark blues, light blues. And I kind of got that in the water, and it's pretty cool to do that. So don't overthink the water. Just let it happen. Also, I am starting a little bit with the coral. Now, if you notice, I'm trying to go with one color at a time. I found for me, this is way easier for me to paint a wall. I just put what color I need on my palette, and then anything that has that color, I go ahead and add it to the wall. Now, this can be negative if you're trying to blend. So if you're blending, you're going to want your colors to be light. Now, I'm using acrylic paint. And at the end, when I'm happy with the wall and the customer is happy with the wall and everybody loves it, I go ahead and I put a clear coat at the end and of the process, and that'll help it last longer. But I usually end up seeing 2 to 3 years of a life expectancy for the painting to really have those bright colors and to look really nice. Which is cool if you're doing this for a customer, because then you just make a good rapport and say, hey, in the future, if you want me to come touch it up, I'll be here. And, so yay, you get another opportunity to make some more money when you have to touch up the wall. But a clear coat is a good idea to paint on towards the end. And when I have all this color on the palette, like right here with the turtle, I've got yellows and browns, and I'm not mixing a whole lot onto the palette itself. I just squirted the paint, and then I'm adding it to the wall as I go, and I'm blending. But there's sometimes, for example, like this squid down here, I don't want him to be blended at all. I want him to be very sharp, different colors. So I'm just going ahead and adding the yellow right now, and then later I'll come in with some red and all the different colors I'm using, but I'm going to really let them dry first before I add the colors next to them. And so it just makes it faster, so that way I don't have to go back and forth. And I also have to keep in mind it's acrylic paint. It's a hot day outside, so the paint is drying super quickly. Now with the coral, the technique I'm using is I have my square brush here. It's I have a 1/4-inch square brush, and whatever color that I have left over in my paint, because I don't want to waste it, I'm just going ahead and just kind of smushing it, really. There's no pattern, no rhyme to reason. I'm just applying it, making strokes. I'm kind of going in like maybe like a little bit of triangles and kind of a starry type of look. And I'm just making the coral really splotchy. And the more and more that I do this overlapping with colors, the cooler and 3D it's going to look. It's going to be more busy. So if you don't want your coral to be super busy, don't add a lot of colors. Add more earth tones like the grays, whites, the browns, light browns, dark browns, and it'll really mute it down. And this is a good way to do rocks. And it's a good way also to just use your paint while you've got it. Like you don't want to end up wasting like $20 worth of paint. And with the fishes, I made a decision on this one that I just kind of made up a fish. Like, yeah, okay, everybody knows what a fish looks like. There's all out there, but really honestly, especially for doing impressionism, which this is in the realm of impressionism, I'm using light poppy contrasting colors next to each other. And I'm not really trying to make this look like a photograph. I'm trying to make it look like the impression of what a fish looks like. And I don't know, it's coming out cool, and I like it here and there, and yeah, it's okay. I mean, not everything you paint is going to be amazing and perfect. So just let it happen. If you don't like it, let it completely dry all the way, and then come back with the white, let that dry, and then go back over it. Very easy, simple to fix. Now, when it comes time for a customer to pay you, this is what I do. I go look at the wall, see how everything is, talk to them, see what they want, and then I come up with a design, and I factor in that I like to make $20 an hour for my time, and I figure out how long it's going to take me. I figure out how much my art supplies are, and that's pretty much how I come up with my price. Now, I've painted so many walls that each time I have detailed notes where how big the wall was, like what I used and everything. And then at the end of each project, I sit down for 10 minutes and I figure out the math. How much everything, how much did I buy new brushes, like what did I all use? Add that money together, and then how much time I spent. I do also like to calculate my time that I spent advertising and putting it on the website and making this video and the other videos I use for marketing. And the customers really like to have a time-lapse video. That's kind of a cool, edgy thing to do. And then sometimes I'll be in a place where they use it as a form of drawing people to their business. So like I'll be outside of the restaurant and I'll paint the wall really cool, and people will come around and watch, and people ask me questions. And so if I'm like actively helping them make more money and their customers are talking to me and they're really involved, then I also consider that as performance art. So, I add a little bit more money for that because I'm taking time out of focusing on what I need to do and trying to focus on their customers. So think of all that. Think of the big picture. Also, at the end, I have come to this conclusion that I have like a set process of the way I do things. And before, at the very beginning, I have a contract with the customer. And so everybody knows everything that's going on. I like to keep them involved in the process so they keep checking on the design throughout the process, which can be stressful. And then I allow them to have one set of revisions at the end. If the end of the painting, I paint it and it's not quite what they're happy with, or I did something that they didn't think and they don't like it, they get one opportunity, and I have that in the contract, and they sign it in the contract. They're aware they get only one time, because sometimes a customer will ask you for a revision over revision over revision, and I understand they're paying a lot of money and they really want this to be wow, and I understand. But me as an artist, if I have to come back 10 times to fix it and to touch it up over the course of 2 months, that really takes time away from all the other paintings and all the other things that I'm doing. So that then makes your price lower, because you were only supposed to spend 5 hours and here you've spent 20 hours on the project. So be very clear with your customers. Have a written contract at the beginning. Before I paint on the wall, I do like to have a design roughly sketched out so that they can sign off. Here are some close-ups. I just love how the dolphin came out. They all came out super cute and in their own way. Kind of looks like me a little bit, sort of. I think it's fun. It's cute. I love it. I wish this was at my house. I love this wall. And take your time. Enjoy it. Have fun. If you're having fun, your art will turn out great. Thanks for watching. Push the purple flower to subscribe and you can watch all kinds of awesome videos.